Welcome to this channel. This channel is for education and culture based on historical and scientific evidence. This channel is to explain, to present what is in the Chinese history and what is it verifiable in science. So this channel is not to promote how good a fighter I am, how authentic I am, how much I know, or to show you some move so that you can mimic like you mimic the Wing Chun movies. This channel is like a high school. I'm like a high school teacher presenting what is in the book, be it history or be it science, physics or biology. So please get it clear on the intentions of this channel, because the intentions of this channel is to transfer what is once upon a time in China to America and to other part of the world. Now, today I like to share with you two critical issues. And if these two critical issues is not fixed in today's Wing Chun, we know that there is no Wing Chun. It is this solid when you base on the ancient Wing Chun. See, Wing Chun is created prior to 1850s uprising against the Qing. The term Wing Chun means the people or the actor of the opera or the Red Book. Wing Chun Kun simply means the martial art of the anti-Qing Red Book opera actor. At that time, there is no such thing as actress. Okay? So that is what is happened in the history of China. Now, so it is important that we use this reference to be the standard. Now, of course, today's Wing Chun is based on the pro-Qing Wing Chun. They are no longer anti-Qing, they are pro-Qing. And they no longer have the full view and full picture of the anti-Qing Wing Chun. And thus, it ends up like a mess today. Even though everybody using the name Wing Chun, but it is no longer Wing Chun if one do not consist of the two critical core which I'm going to share with you today. Now, anybody want to get back to the proper Wing Chun as created in 1850? Due to we know there's two core today, we can put it back to the Wing Chun today to make it alive. Or else the Wing Chun is not Wing Chun. It will not be alive. It is dead. Now, so What I'm going to share with you is based on the past two videos, which I have already shared with you. Because in past two videos, there's a lot of details inside there. And it presenting the hand technique based Wing Chun as what today's Wing Chun is. And also the momentum based Wing Chun, which is the martial art following the Chinese General Qi Ji Guang, who actually reformed the Chinese martial art 470 years ago. Okay, today's Wing Chun is a mess due to it is a hand technique based Wing Chun. It no longer is a momentum based Wing Chun. So, there are three problems with today's Wing Chun, which causing this mess in Wing Chun, and it will never repair itself but become even worse when days goes by. So the first problem with today's Wing Chun is since 1870, the creations of the Pro-Ching Wing Chun, it is not a complete art of Wing Chun 1850, and also it is not following Chinese martial arts teaching. For past 130 years since 1870, the core of Wing Chun is actually distorted. The main two core, which is today I want to share with you, is completely trash. That's why nobody will develop anything serious. That's why 60 years ago, Bruce Lee called Wing Chun land swimming. And today, like last time I shared with you in the chat GPT, Wing Chun is known as land swimming. You like it or not? And this is due to it is a hand technique based type of art. Hand technique based type of art. Talking about this hand technique, that hand technique, that hand technique. Instead of momentum, the momentum tactic combo, like last time I have shared with you. So for past 130 years or so until today, people is playing around with these techniques. And then they are using terms like philosophy and concept, try to justify their opinion or their interpretations, while not knowing that the entire thing doesn't hold up. So all this philosophy, concept, everything, it doesn't hold up when you using the proper Chinese culture to look at it. And then, for sure, you know that this is a creation where people don't know what is going on. So that is one of the problems since 1870. So why is it become like this? Well, a few reasons. Number one, when the anti-Qing lost the uprising, they fled away or they died. After that, pro-Qing come in, it become really highly commercialized. I myself have went to Fatsan and compare note with the top researcher there to verify the situations at that time. It is all money. This is no longer anti-Qing Wing Chun, where, hey, we're going for uprising. If this is not working, it is a battle, it's a war, everybody die. This is no longer that. It is at the time, it's like this. I make myself as a grandmaster. You want to learn from me? How much you pay? So as you heard from the story of Grandmaster Yip Man, you have to pay this much gold to learn something. So at that time, it is like you pay this much, you learn this much. And they're not going to teach you something different. You want to self-defense, it teach you a little bit for self-defense. You want to open a school, teach you some sets. You want to for help. So it breaks the entire thing into a very commercialized thing. And not to mention, today when we look back, we can see even those who break things apart to sell it don't know what it is. So that's why until today, even in the beginning of 1900, like Grandmaster Yun Kei-san tried to fix things. Grandmaster Yip Man later tried to also fix things. But due to they don't have the information like we have today in America, they spend a lifetime trying to fix, but it never gets fixed. So that's number one. So all this concept, everything, it doesn't hold up. I will tell you why today with these two things. The second thing, why it screwed up today is because Wing Chun have become a hand techniques martial arts, hand technique based. So you often heard, you see, this MMA star using Wing Chun in the ring. So everybody claps. Yeah, you know, Wing Chun is used in the ring in MMA. But if you heard, on the other hand, on the Xi Xiaodong's friend's critics, he publicly tell everybody, you see, hey, that that superstar is not using Wing Chun in real fighting. That is just a mimicking move for fun. Check in what Xi Xiaodong said in public. So when people take that, oh, this MMA star is using Wing Chun, then they thought that this is Wing Chun. That further screwing up. And then there's another category. Went to movie and watch this Wing Chun movie, like Hai Bong Sao like this, okay, like Hai Bong Sao like this, or Chi Sao. Then they go sparring, make a video, show in a YouTube saying that this is my way of using Wing Chun Kung Fu in sparring. What? Those are just mimic moves. Did they really using Wing Chun? Did they even know what is Wing Chun? Of course they're not. Why? Because Wing Chun is a momentum-based art. Wing Chun is never a hand technique-based art. So with these three types, number one, you got problem with people don't understand the the proper uh, uh, Chinese martial arts theory and practice, and then making up their stuff for selling. And then you have those people just taking whatever the MMA guy or star do as Wing Chun. And then you have those people who practice some MMA and then go watching movies and maybe learn a little bit, a few sets and a few hand techniques, and then claim that there is using Wing Chun techniques, using Wing Chun or their Wing Chun. For example, a boxer, of course, a well-trained boxer is trained in momentum of the combination combo of, like for example, the jab, cross, and hook. And then with the jab, cross, jab, hook, there's a cross hook. They add in, say, to show a sun punch, then they say, using Wing Chun in my sparring. Wait a minute, those are Western boxing. Those are not Wing Chun. But people love to do that for their reason. And of course, many will look at this as their interpretations. Now, this is all the problem from this hand technique based Wing Chun. Real Chinese martial art is momentum based. But today, most Chinese Kung Fu is taught as the hand technique based, no longer momentum based. Okay? So, for example, let's look at a sister art of Wing Chun in the 1850. Sister of Wing Chun 1850. To see how it is a momentum art. But today, still, many people today have go into misleading. They never really train it, but they just mimic techniques and like, oh, I'm doing the high bong sao, that's Wing Chun. But really, man, you're a MMA player. You're not a Wing Chun player. Now, let's look at Hong Seng Chai Lei Fat, who is the sister art of Wing Chun in 1850. Hong Seng Chai Lei Fat is trained for what? For uprising, like the Wing Chun in the Red Book. They are sister art. Hong Seng Chai Lei Fat is using the General Qi Ji Guang's teaching. It's anti-Qing. So in Hong Seng Chai Lei Fat, you can see that it is entirely momentum. One momentum transformed to another momentum and all kinds of combo as what General Qi Ji Guang taught. Also, no parry, no blocking, one shot in. So if you look at the Hong Seng Chai Lei Fat, now I'm not the expert of Hong Seng Chai Lei Fat. I'm here like a high school teacher just showing you what you can see. If you really know the six core element, you know the Chinese culture, you can see what it is. For example, the Hong Seng Chai Lei Fat have the so, gua, cha. Okay? So, the so, gua, cha. This is all momentum. Okay? Now, it has its uniqueness of the momentum tactic combo and the body conditioning. And like when you do a the soul tree, it is never like you have the tensing Like if I practice karate, I never practice Hong Sing Chai Lei Fat. Or I practice Western boxing. Then when I do so, I just go tense up my shoulder and then sweep it down like that. That's not what it is. If you look at the Hong Sing Chai Lei Fat, it is the hip, the footwork, the body work, all in a really loose situations, and then so right away it turned into gua. Right away it turned into cha. It is changing the distance, the angle, and level, like what Jana Chi Chi Guang is presenting. But today you see, even people already starting doing so, and then you just go like this, and you can see all the muscle here, the body is not following it, and then hey, come on. This is another thing on mimic hand techniques. So another word is look at the momentum. Don't mimic the hand techniques. Oh, this is so. That is Chai Lei Fat. You can do this. It is never Chai Lei Fat. The same with, you can do all your Tan Sao, your Bong Sao, whatever you want. It's not Wing Chun. Okay? Like you say, the Tan Sao, you look at all the Chinese, Southern Chinese martial arts. So what is the difference between the Hong Ka hand techniques and your Wing Chun Tan Sao, and so forth, so forth? That's why if you base on hand technique base, you are completely screwed. You need to know the momentum behind it. Okay, so now you know about this momentum stuff is not something which is we can make up out of the blue. It is like that at the 1850s time. For example, from Hong Sing Chai Lei Fat, you can see a lot of things because there's a common denominator. It's just like today's smartphone. You check the Apple phone, you check the Google phone, you can see how things works at that era, at this era. Okay, so I give you enough background here, like high school. I know it is a long talk, but you must know all this because it is about education. It is about education, not about mimicking. And then I have my Wing Chun, your Wing Chun, all this stuff. Now, so let's get into Wing Chun. Wing Chun is a momentum-based art. It is not today's what you see in the movie or Ip Man movie or all this kind of thing. Forget about it. What you see today, 50 years ago, Bruce Lee have already called it land swimming. You can check into ChatGPT, the AI, okay? He will tell you that. Now, so the following two things you must change. Start from today. You must change your perspective, change the entire view on Wing Chun, or else you are using the 1850 or today's Wing Chun's mind, concept, philosophy, whatever, you will never get there. You will never get a proper function martial arts called Wing Chun with a uniqueness, like Hong Sing Chai Lei Fat have its uniqueness. Now, so the first thing we need to be really clear to reinstall back is concessions without concessions. Concessions without concessions. That is the key. of Wing Chun. Wing Chun is a soft art. Wing Chun is a momentum-based art. Wing Chun's uniqueness is concession without concessions. But today, the problem today for past hundreds of years, 130 years, always thinking, when you talk about Wing Chun, you're always thinking about Chi Sao, and then a term called Loi Lao Hui Song Lat Sao Zik Chong. Your hand come, I retain it. The hand goes away, I send it away. If your hand disengage, I strike in straight. Loi Lao Hui Song Lat Sao Zik Chong. So everybody talk about Wing Chun, they will always tell you Lai Lao Hui Song Lat Sao Zik Chong. Well, that exactly is the problem. It talk only hand techniques. Your hand come, I retain you. Your hand goes away, I send you away, and then your hand disengage, then I strike in straight, or rush in straight, or dash in straight. All hand techniques. This is a problem. So is it Loi Lao Hui Seng Lat Sao Zik Chong wrong? No, it is not wrong, but you don't see the full picture. The full picture, the base is concessions without concessions. On top of concession without concession, then you can have the Loi Lao Hui Song Lat Sao Zik Chong. But if you don't know about the concessions without concessions, you just took this Loi Lao Hui Song Lat Sao Zik Chong, all this hand technique stuff, and you thinking that hand techniques is Wing Chun, you drop that. You're losing the entire thing. So that's why you can have this Loi Lao Hui Song Lat Sao Zik Chong. You can see in the website, in all the lineages, how many interpretations, even including today's MMA player will say, well, we're going to use the Bong Sao this way. We're going to use the Chi Sao this way. You look at all these things, when they don't have the base of concessions without concession, you know it is something else up for your interpretation. That's not Wing Chun. So the first thing must restore is you need to think about in a momentum play. Wing Chun characteristic is a soft art, is a female art. It's about concessions without concessions. Stop to get into this Loi Lao Hui Song Lat Sao Zik Chong stuff, which is tell you nothing. And as what I mentioned, once you have that concessions without concessions base, concessions without concessions base, when I get into here, I can, when I touch him in this close range, I can use Loi Lao Hui Song Lat Sao Zik Chong here. Nothing wrong with that. But if you don't know the concession without concessions, then all the hand, Lat Sao Zik Chong stuff, all are useless. And you take that as the it, you drop that. That's why Wing Chun is so screwed up in past 130 years. You lose that. You lose that concessions without concessions. And it turns out into this straight line, try to bulldoze other people using hand technique stuff. Instead of concession without concession, you in your hand technique, nothing wrong with that. You can use your Tan Sao here, your Fok Sao here, your punch here, but not here. So you are missing that big part, concess without concessions, and you're keeping training your hand techniques and your Chi Sao, your sensitivity that way. you still cannot handle the entire thing. That's why people go learn what? Western boxing. Learn kickboxing. So they say, Wing Chun is a concept. You need to learn kickboxing. You need to learn MMA so that you can be able to use Wing Chun. Well, sorry. When you do that, you learn Western boxing and you use kickboxing or MMA. You are doing MMA, Western boxing, kickboxing. You are not doing Wing Chun. Why? Because your entire momentum base is belong to Western boxing, MMA, or other arts. So if you want to do Wing Chun, meaning the first thing you have to show, concession without concessions. Get in, do this close. Your leg attack your body, actually limiting him, make him become a defensive, and then you attack him with your hand and arm. And your 來流飛送甩手直衝 all this apply here. You see? So if this is the first thing, if you don't put in your concession without concessions, what Wing Chun? So here on, you look at those who practice MMA and say, this is Chinese Kung Fu, we use this sun punch, whatever, so forget about it, okay? You don't know Wing Chun. That's how clear it is. It's like nobody is going to say, practice Western boxing and then use one techniques from BJJ and say, this is BJJ, according to me. Why are you kidding? Well, because everything is momentum based. Okay, so you know which momentum, you can read it. And as what I just shared with you, the so gua cha, that is not about like the Wing Chun concession without concession, where you shoot in close and you play here your tan bong fuk, your lai lao hui song, all here. Okay, now in order to be able to do concessions without concessions, your body must be conditioned as contract and extend. Contract and extend. That's how you handle the momentum of Wing Chun, short strike, because you need to get in, you need to handle this entire momentum to generate the power to shoot in close to him or to KO him. Have you ever seen somebody stand like this and this can KO anybody? Well, you look at Xi Xiaodong's critics. You cannot do it. That's why you need to, the first writing in the 1850s 小年頭 writing, it said contract and extending. You need to know that. That is also the base of Shaolin short strike. If you don't have the contract and extending, you really cannot move your body to support the concession without concession. So all this, like Lao Hui Song, everything is useless because you don't have the engine. Okay? So, make it clear, you need to put the concession without concessions. Have to learn the concession without concessions. That's the first thing. You never go straight with him, try to use your hand technique to bulldoze. You not block, not parry. You just keeping striking him, machine gun him. But it is all based on concession without concessions. And if you want to do that, your body has to have the shrinking and the extending or contracting, extending. And over here, you need to have the torque, like I present in the previous YouTube. So concession without concession, that is the bottom line. The system uniqueness, the momentum uniqueness. You need have your contract extend to get in to KO, and you need the torque to stick with him, to sense him at this close, to jam him with your body, to attack him with your leg, and with your two hands to strike him or throw him. So get it? Concess without concessions, you need to have the contract and extending. You need to be able to have the torque develop. Without this thing, forget about it. There's no Wing Chun. It's just hand techniques. And everybody can call Hendrik Santos Wing Chun, this Wing Chun, but there's nothing is Wing Chun. Okay, so once again, the ground is concession without concession. In order to implement that, you need to have your contract and extend capability, like your dash out ability, and also the torque ability. So you never practice 起手 this technique, that technique, 來流去送, 甩手直衝, and then you stand there and you're thinking that is Wing Chun. That's not Wing Chun. So I hope this part you clear. The second part, which must go, is today if you go watch the Wing Chun website from China and all around the world, it always say in Chinese, Wing Chun Sao Zhong in Cantonese. In English, it means guarding the center. And then people will start say, you guarding your center line. You need to have a structure. You're guarding your center line. And all your Tan Bong Fuk, your Lai Lao Hui Song is guarding your center line. And you have those Fa Jing, and then you have those mind power. All this you need to keep on the center line. And you have to guard the center line, protect your center line, and be in center. So you practically need to keep yourself, your body erect. And that is guarding center line, 扫中, or guarding the center, 扫中. Do you know people who say this in the past 130 years do not know Chinese culture? Do you know that? Well, you will not believe me, right? You say, well, Hendrik, who the hell are you? Well, I'm a high school teacher, right? Let me share with you. 中, 扫中, 中 doesn't mean center line. Doesn't mean you have to keep on a structure balance. Doesn't mean the Tai Chi you always have in the center position. It's not like that. So what it is? Let me share with you today. Chinese culture has to based on Yi Jing. Even Sun Tzu, the art of war, or Qi Ji Guang, all everything based on Yi Jing. When they talk about momentum, it's all about following the Yi Jing. And in the Yi Jing, the book of change, the Yi Jing, it derived down to the hexagon. When it is in the hexagon, it presents what is center, what is 中面. So this is the hexagon, right? Over here it says 5. Well, people will think, yeah, you want to keep, you want to protect, you want to guard your center, so you have to stand straight, erect, and so forth, like, protect your center line, so forth. But, sorry, wrong. That's not what the Chinese say. If you look at that, all this hexagon
The 5 is coming from an imbalance combinations. Like for example, 5 here is from 1 at 9. 5 here is from 3 at 7. 5 here is from 2 and 8. 5 here is from 6 and 4. So there is no such thing as 5, 5. So what does it mean? In today's language, the 中, 少中中, to stay in the 中 center or balance mean stay in dynamic balance with or based on dynamic imbalance and balance. Got nothing to do with position, your straight line, you have to stay there, the guarding all this thing. The entire thing is relative. So as in the hexagon, it is balance is how do you balance your opponent. If the opponent is 8, you balance it with 2. So 8 plus 2 is 10, and in the middle is 5. If the opponent is 3, I have 7. 7 plus 3 divided by 2, the mean is 5. Nobody said you stand there in the center, you're guarding that center, guarding that 5. Example. When I want to shoot in, my body lean in. I am 7, he is 3. I am in an imbalanced state. I am making use of the imbalance to accelerate my entire momentum and the impulse to shoot in. It never is. Keep myself at 5 and then go punching this way. So, this is staying in dynamic balance with dynamic imbalance. When I want to throw him, it is not 5, 5. This might be 7 or 6, and the opponent is 4. So, the entire momentum game, dynamic momentum game, is stay in dynamic balance using dynamic imbalance or dynamic balance. It is not guarding your center. There's a center line there. You have to use your hand to guard it. You have to stand this position. You have to keep erect. Those static stuff. It is not. So if you go with the real Chinese culture, the Yi Jing, the Book of Change, the Bagua, which is I just share with you, and the momentum, transform to momentum of the Chinese, you have 130 years of who knows what the heck's going on with stay in the middle, clamping your knee and doing all those kind of stuff. How are you going to play in this dynamic momentum game? How are you going to support that concession without concessions and then you're talking? How? You can. Now, with this, we know that center, stay at center, guarding center meaning you keep staying in dynamic balance, need a training, a body conditioning to implement that. Just like just now, concession without concessions, you need to have the contract, extend, you need to talk. So what is the thing you need to develop to do this staying in dynamic balance with dynamic imbalance and dynamic balance, or guarding the uh, dynamic balance? That is the recycling momentum. You get in, you not stop there. Something will happen, you need to recycle your momentum. So the recycling of momentum, that is the core of this balance, uh, stay in the dynamic balance with dynamic imbalance and dynamic balance. When you want to accelerate, like shoot in, of course you want to make use of your imbalance. How can you accelerate if you stand like this? Your body become a drag. But when you do this, lean in, like the half step I shared the other day, you accelerate the entire thing. So, these two concepts. One is concess without concessions, and the training, extend, contract, and talking to realize, to implement the concession without concessions, and staying or guarding the dynamic balance with dynamic imbalance and dynamic balance, which is the second core or second concept of Wing Chun, which is implemented by the training, the conditioning of the recycling momentum. This must reinstall into Wing Chun in order to make it work. Or else you don't have anything. You just have this techniques, that techniques. What is the difference between that with the movie choreography? So the MMA guy punch, 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 and suddenly go a sun punch. You say, oh, this is Wing Chun. That's what happened today. But do they know about concessions without concessions? Do they know about this shoot in, the twerking, the jamming, and all those things, uniqueness of Wing Chun? Do they know about this playing with the dynamic imbalance? They don't. So you see, right? You compare the trilateral momentum, the Wing Chun short strike momentum, they are different momentum. They have their uniqueness, but they are all momentum based. You compare with Western boxing, it is a different type of art. You compare with MMA, it's a different type of art. So this is what I like to share with you, the two things. Concession without concessions, stay in dynamic balance with dynamic imbalance and dynamic balance. If these two things, this main, the soul of Wing Chun is not restored, you don't have Wing Chun, you only have choreography. So this is what I like to share with you. So remember, number one problem is past 130 years, people keeping create their stuff, even though it doesn't add up. As soon as people say, well, this is from my lineage, his lineage, whatever, this is Chinese, nobody check it out, what the heck's going on? It end up like today. The second is, oh yeah, because this MMA star doing this, so that's Wing Chun. Another is, as soon as you are dare enough to claim that you have Wing Chun Kung Fu, even though you practice MMA, sorry. then you make that Wing Chun Kung Fu. So these three things need to go if Wing Chun is going to stay. This is the standard. This is not Hendrik Santo's standard. Remember, I'm the high school student. I tell you now, I open up, I pull the curtain to let you see what is behind there. So it is not difficult to reinstall these two concepts, concession without concessions, keep the dynamic balance with dynamic imbalance and dynamic balance. It is not that difficult. I already give you the, the idea, the concept, and how to train to develop it. The solution is there. And those who want more details, read my book, Resurrecting Wing Chun. It's all about that. But if you're keeping thinking about the hand techniques based type of thing, oh, there's your opinion, there's my interpretation, there's whatever. Even the MMA guy can go interpret Wing Chun. You will never know what it is because you don't know what it is in the first place. So for those who really care for Wing Chun, want to stand tall as a Wing Chun uh, practitioner, disregard of your lineage, you must add in these two things, or else it looks really bad. Because in the sparring, in the fighting, you're always using other people's momentum, and everybody can see it. The hand techniques is just a show business, as Xi Xiaodong said.